Well, hey there, guys. I hope you guys can understand me on this moment. And today I want to make a video just showing to you the process of how I make cell shading. I'm still learning this form of painting and shading and giving light effects. But it's been a while since I started trying to to master. Let's just say that I was trying to master cell shading, or at least to make a way of cell shading that could be fast and practical. To make my own webtoon. If you guys don't know, I have a webtoon. It's called In Between: The Legend of the Prince, and it's an fantasy adventure action story. But enough of that. I wanted to actually show you guys a way that I kind of developed to make cell shading easier and more practical, and that can be fast and used by anyone who wants to make it. Because in the very end, if you want to keep a schedule or just to be more agile while you make your comic book, if it is a full color, certain forms of shading will take a lot more time than cell shading. Cell shading is going to be much more faster, more agile, and more practical. So let's just show you how you should like focus on things. First thing that you gotta do is when you make line art, make details such as cross hatching or deeper shades of dark. I still haven't made it. I'm going to make it afterwards. But like here in this fan art I'm doing of Spider-Man. Actually, this fan art is for the Spider-Man Panopticon. It's written here in Portuguese because it's a Brazilian fan film that is amazing. It's a fan art I'm doing for the project because I want to make a tribute to the producers of this fan film because it's amazing. But the thing is, when I was doing this fan art, and the first thing that I decided to make a conscious decision that I needed to make was that the line art of the webbing in the suit was going to be separate. Okay. Also, another thing that I just noticed. Let me just fill this with black because it's supposed to be black on the main line art. Okay, so why do you separate cross hatching and other details such as these different layers? Because it's going to make it easier for you on the main on the main line art to make selections. If there is like if you're making the selection, if this was in the main line art, this is going to make like take a lot more time to select unless you do the more obvious thing, which is the select the outside and then invert. But for more specific parts where you want to paint, it's going to take a lot more time. And why do you use selection? Well, to make things separate. Like this is just the blue parts are just on the parts they're supposed to be, the same way that the yellowish, it's more like a green, and not green, but a yellowish, grayish tone here in the eyes. So this is why you're gonna make these details on the line arts on separate layers. So like for an example, also another tip: avoid using brushes that have opacity controls like here. Use brushes that don't have it because the opacity control can also affect the selection, and cell shading was going to use a lot of selection for you guys. So like let me just make some cross hatching here. Also, I'm just going to do like it very fast and not very precisely, just to darken the parts that are supposed to be dark. Okay, and I'm going to keep it separate because I don't want them to mix. You can like mix everything else afterwards in the after the drawing is finished. Okay, to make things more like easier to flat. If you want to flat the image, only in the end of it, of the process. This way you're not going to have problems with selections. Why I'm darkening this parts of the image? Because the black is going to help me to give volume to certain parts of the pic, because I want to make this drawing like it was in a very dark environment. This is why the background is all black, because it has this more dark vibe that I want to give it. And okay, I guess that I'm going to show the whole process. I'm not going to cut this video. I'll try to be as fast as I can, because I want to show you guys how fast it can be to use this method of painting. And I will save this project without flattening it, so I can record the other version of shading, which is the soft shading, which is the method that I actually use for most of my drawings. Some examples are going to appear on the screen right now. Okay, I guess this is enough cross-hatching. Okay, so let's go to the reddish. I pick up this color and I'm going to use, I actually have lots of colors. This whole palette, I use most of it, but I'm going to make a new one. I usually pick colors like in zigzagging method, and I want to, okay, here, and the second color, it's going to be more, yes, this is going to be the colors that I'm going to use for shading. So okay, the next part of the drawing is like, you gotta understand first where the light source is going to come from. In this case, it's going to be coming in my drawing right above, from right above him, like pointing directly towards it. You can like make a guide for you. So like for an example, I'm going to use, let me save these colors here on the palette, and I'm going to use this more yellowish tone. I'm going to use the shine mode. Let's just say that the light is coming from above him. Okay, this is just a guide. It's not going to be on the pic, or maybe it will. I don't plan on using it. Okay, so first things first, we picked up the colors. Actually, I think I'm going to darken this one a little bit more, and this one too. I'm gonna make it more grayish. Yes. Since it's a very dark environment, we're going to use a very solid brush here. But before I do anything of that, I'm going to take multiply, and I'm going to take I think these two colors are very similar. Let's just pick this color, and I'm going to apply it over everything else. Actually, let me make it easier to work with. I'm going to put this on yes, on the whole, on a folder, and I'm going to control the multiply here. I can actually use burn too. Actually, burn looks kind of weird. We can use multiply, or we can use darken, because I want to make this like it has in a dark environment. Okay, after that I'm going to pick the solid brush, and I'm going to paint it very like and control it. Since the light's coming from above, I'm just going to leave the parts that are like under. Actually, let me paint it on overall. Since most of the drawing is going to be dark, instead of painting the shadow, we're going to be erasing it. what do I mean by that? It's like now we're going to work more details. So like I'm going to like be more careful around here too. Oh, you can also, instead of using the eraser, if you have a tablet, program one of your buttons either on the tablet or either on the actual pen to activate the switch to transparency, because it's basically it transforms the actual brush that you're using into an eraser. It makes things a lot more faster. So here I'm going to select it to make like this movement on the muscle too. It's going to have it around here too. Here around the fingers too. And I think that we can consider this part done. And here, since it's the lower parts of the drawing, it's not going to have any lighter parts. It's going to have just this more grayish tone to give the idea that it's even more deeper and more darker, like even darker parts of the drawing. And you can be like less careful. Let's just say like you can be like less careful with these parts of the drawing, because it's not the actual focus of the image. I want people to focus on this part, so we can be less careful with the overall parts of the drawing around the other parts. Now I want to make like his nose is around here, and I want to give some volume to it. It's not the actual rim light, okay? It's not the rim light. Just before you guys ask, it's part of the actual color, the actual shading. It creates some contrast, but the actual rim light is going to come on the ending of the drawing. Here too, I can add some here too. The secondary color of the shading is not necessary, but it gives a nice effect. It's just something that I like to do, but you can skip this part if you want. Okay, so before and after, and if I take the overall shading, it get less dark, but I'm going to keep this here because it's part of the effect that I want to give. Like if it was a very clear environment, like let's just say that it ain't a black environment, okay? Like it's a very bright environment, but the light is coming right directly above him. I wouldn't use multiply. I would use another color, probably a more like it's a bright Sunday, and the light of the sun's kind of like yellowish white. I would use probably something like overlay, or maybe shine. No, shine's way too strong. Like dodge, or some even burn can look good. Like to give a more like orange hueish. But this was going to be the case like if it was like in bright day sunlight, or maybe like inside you see there's a difference between the natural color and the actual color after this add in the hue, to make it more shiny, to make it more bright. Like dodge is going to be way way too strong. So we could use dodge and make it like lighter, or maybe overlay with more percentage. But this is not the case. I want a dark environment. I could even, like, for an example, it's a dark environment, but it's let's just say it was a cool environment. So I could use like something like blue and multiply for a cold dark environment. Or if I want a cold bright environment, I can use overlay, or I could use dodge, or even screen in this case. If it was a very bright, like a very imagine like a cold room, or a very open bright room with cool lights. You can use hard light too. Hard light's a very good mode. The thing is, you gotta choose between the layer modes. They are more directed to lighter colors, and other ones that are more directed to cooler color, like cooler colors or lighter colors or darker colors. Like multiply is going to be mostly used to take off the white parts of the color. It kind of like erases the white of the color that you choose, so it makes everything more blackish, so more darkish. Overlay is going to work in the hue of the colors, I guess. But screen is like the opposite of multiply. Screen erases the black of the color and puts more closer to the whiter side. So it makes this difference. You gotta choose the layer mode that works best for you. Okay. Now on the blue parts, we're gonna take the base color without the adaptive mode. I'm going to pick a color that comes closer to purple, and the other color is going to be more grayish too, but also closer to purple. So something like this. Since most of this is covered, I'm just going to paint it overall again. Here in the legs as well. And after I make these details, I'm going to start working with sculpting the shade. So like, since there's muscle here and here too, and I'm going to use the other color to go even darker. And again, trying to create that contrast, remembering that the second part is optional, and you can actually choose an even actual darker color, or you can do as I'm doing right here, which is to go like a more grayish tone, because it gives a certain vibe to the whole piece. I like it, how it looks. It's a very personal part of the process. Actually, I'm going to paint this overall part here too. Also going to do it here. I'm going to combine both of them here too. And here under the arms too. The problem with the colors that I'm transforming into an eraser, and I forget that it's going to take both of the colors that I'm using out of it, and I don't want that. We don't want that. again on the other arm. Another tip that you could be using is to use a symmetrical guideline. Usually some softwares have this effect. Pentosite 2 actually has with this point right here, like just picking up this symmetric ruler, you put it on the center of the image, and like everything you do on one side, it affects the other. So like, let me take this color, it's affecting both of the sides. Actually, it's going to be cool like here. Something like this to give a nice effect. There's also muscle here. On the legs, I'm going to actually join both of these parts here and affected both of the sides of the image. And I'm going to make it like this movement here and affected both of the sides and point. And you already have most of the shade done. The eyes is going to be a very specific part because I want both of the eyes to be like clear. So I'm going to pick up this color, make it a little bit more darker, and make it something like this. Yeah, it's looking nice. I want to make it look like fierce, like a more darker take on Spider-Man. Okay. So let me here without the multiply effect, and now with the multiply effect, let me make the opacity a little bit stronger. And after that, we start the process of making the lights. Okay. Here I'm going to pick dodge, and I'm going to pick a color that is more reddish in tone. So I'm going to pick like this kind of pink color, and I will start to use the airbrush on it. Why the airbrush? Because the airbrush is going to be nice to work here on the borders. Actually, we can take here these parts are here on dodge. Also, I'm still working with the symmetrical ruler. Let me deactivate it. Let me actually erase it. We can still work with it, but I'm not going to work with it because I want to work without worrying too much with these parts of the drawing. And besides the dodge, I'm going to actually pick up a bluish kind of color, and I'm going to put it down here, which is going to be the actual rim light, the counter light. You can call it counter light if you want. Actually, it didn't look so good. Let me change it to a more brighter color. That's still not good enough. What if I pick up shine? Oh yes, now it's looking fine. Actually, can pick like a more darker tone. And here on the same layer with shine, I'm going to make the highlights using the same color that I did the main source of light. But now, what I'm going to do is the actual detail. Actually, I'm going to leave this blue shine here. I'm going to make another layer, also with shine. I'm going to make this. I'm going to make here in this part of the muscle here, close to the neck. Now in the shoulders. The same goes for the other side. But I'm just going to make here on this part here. I'm not going to make more like closer to the down parts. And why I'm not going to make closer to the down parts, because the highlights are supposed to be only close to the light source, so like only on the upper parts. Here it's not going to have much, also because the texture of the uniform, you gotta also have that in mind. The material that the uniform or the clothing of your character, if it's made of a more shiny material or not. Like most of the tissues that we use in clothing are not very reflective, but now we have leather that is very reflective, or metal that is very reflective, plastic that is very reflective. But the uniform of the Spider-Man tends not to be so much reflective. So now I'm going to pick up the airbrush, and I'm going to just spray it a little bit to be this nice light effect that I want to. But actually this color doesn't look really good for me, so I'm going to pick it like a more reddish light. Let me see how it gets. Yeah, way too dark. Didn't serve for me. Let's take more of this brighter. Not so good. Let's pick up a more orangish color. I think the orange kind of works a little bit better. Yes, let's stay with the orange color. Using the same, since these layers are on the overall parts, I'm going to pick up now this more blue tones, and I'm going to make the ring lights here, but only on the very down parts, since the ring light is in the opposite direction of the main source of light, so there's not going to be much ring light here, since we want this to be fast and practical. So let's see how we got this now, a little bit more here. Again, airbrush here too. Actually, we can maybe make a little bit of highlight here, just a little bit. And maybe a little bit. Let's mix both of those colors, yes. A little bit here. Here. Just a little bit. These kinds of effects you shouldn't like worry too much and not over exaggerate, because cell shading is supposed to be simple. So having some trouble with the zoom. And again, this is the base color, like without the effect that I want to make it like darker. So this would work if it was like a more bright, like for example, let's take it the black. It's to serve like if the light was like from upper behind part of the drawing. But since I want something like a dark place, I use this multiply effect, and bam, we have something cool. We have something interesting. Let's just say that I don't like this color. I can like pick up, let's just say I wanted a cold vibe. Still works on multiply. I can make it a little bit darker. Let's say I want like a pinkish environment, or maybe a greenish one. You see, it works with most of the colors. I'll actually just do an overall fill. Let's just say I want this color right here. I can work with this effect, and let's just say I want something bright. Let's take off again the black parts of the environment, and let's just make it like with lighter colors. Use fill, and now it's an overlay. Actually, I want a cold light. Okay, let's just say that I use shine. or dodge. Dodge is a good one for lights. You see dodge, overlay, shine, screen, soft light or hard light. These is going to work for environments that are bright, so you're going to use colors that are bright. I want an environment that is dark, so for an example, if I pick this color and put the black, it looks kind of like it kind of like not works, because the environment is black and but the character ain't. So unless it has a very strong light source, it ain't gonna work. Now if I put multiply, that makes it darker, works a lot better. Like even if it's like burn, works a lot better. Multiply works a lot better. I can even make like, oh, look like this, like a very dark environment for Spider-Man. It works best. It works like better for the effect that I want. So without, let's just say that I want just a simple blank bright environment. So do not worry with using adaptive layer modes to give this the environment aspect that you want. Now I want to make a light, a bright blue, like bluish cool environment. I can use overlay, I can use shine on less opacity, I can use dodge, I can use soft light, I can use hard light, I can use pin light. Now I want a dark environment that is cool. You can use black in the background to set your mind on the objective, and use multiply, use darken, or maybe use burn. Burn sometimes works cool, but like on lower opacities. I'm going to use multiply because I think it works good, and I want a more hot environmental, so like red. I'm going to use like a darker red. I think it works best. So like again, the difference between natural colors and red, multiply. Let me use this color again. I think it works best. And here we pretty much have everything that you want to do to make the light works. Actually, I can even go back here in the layers, and I'm going to erase a little bit here of the blue. Just to give some form. Also, I'm going to do this with the red parts here. I think it will look nice. Getting back to the blue. Yeah, it works pretty well. I'm feeling happy with the results. Again, shine for the highlights. You can even go a little bit further and like apply a little bit of Gaussian blur. That's way too much. Let's go back. Here's base. Let's just make it a little bit. It works nice sometimes. Okay, it's taking some time to process. Sorry. Okay, now we're back. See here. Actually, I didn't like that much, so let's just keep it. But again, without the highlights, just with the dodge here. No lights. Lights. Highlights. So very dark. Natural colors. Here we already have a very cool result for cell shading, okay? I actually forgot something very interesting I like to do, which is to pick the color and like pick like a darker version and outline it. And why do I outline it? Because I think it looks nice. I think it gives a very interesting. Oh shit! I give feel. Okay, outline again. And if we go here to the blue, we see that there's now an outline to the shade. Actually, could make it a little bit darker here. Without outline, with outline, without. Now with. It gives a nice effect to it. But now in regards to the part like here, the environment, which is a dark place, the more hot, reddish light I want. Here we already have a very interesting effect, but the highlights and the rim light actually gives a more, like the counter light gives a nice effect. And I think that we already, hey, it's looking really good. I can like copy this layer. It's looking very strong, ain't it? This is not what I want. I want this to look, to make it like a Gaussian. Okay, I need to activate the layer. So blur, Gaussian blur. It also gives a nice effect to it. But now it's looking way too strong, so I can like just ignore these. Let's put it here back into normal. I'm going to pick up this color. Let's see if this is the same color. Yeah, it's the same color. Let's forget these. You can also make the highlights with natural colors, but I recommend to use the shine, because the shine is going to adapt it like it was a light source. So instead of making this, we can use the airbrush and do this. Going to work nice as well. We can also make something like this right here too. It gives a nice effect on the shadow, but just like a very light touch. And yeah, we pretty much have a very nice result. Let me get back here to normal. This is the normal color without using dodge. See how it looks way too strong? You can actually use like without using color mode effects. Like if I use shine, it's going to look like this. If I use hard light, it's going to look like this. You can search through the effect. Like here, I just discovered that a hard light actually looks very interesting with this piece. But dodge also works very nice too. Actually, I'm going to keep the, let's see, soft light. Kind of weak. Hard light. Very interesting. So you can also explore the layer modes to discover new ways of actually making the effect that you want. So it's like here. Dodge was this idea because I used this to make my comic, because I mix with the shine, the highlights on shine, and I think it looks interesting. But here, if I change to hard light, it looks nice too. Looks different. Let's see without the highlights. Without the highlights, kind of look a little bit weird in my opinion. It looks best with the highlights. So you can explore, but like the process, the overall process, we make like to make it short, just so we can get a more straight line to the process. First, you gotta have your line art with parts that are separated between cross-hatching and darker parts. Details on the clothing, so like here is the webbing of the uniform, but like let's just say that your character has a sweater that has straight vertical lines. Do the straight vertical lines also in a different layer. It's going to make it easier for you to select. Make the base colors. Let's just say the difference here is the difference between base color. Look how different it is. Choose the environment that you want, so like a dark environment. Make the shading. You can choose to remember that the base color can work both for dark environments and for lighter environments, but if you want to give the extra vibe, you can use an adaptive layer to give the idea that it was like darken color kind of works too. Lighten color, nah, it doesn't work that much. So like, let's go back to multiply, works nice. Use dodge and airbrush to point the source of light that you want to use. So like here, airbrush, here you can put here and here. Actually, no, let me put here. More here, yes. And then make the highlights using shine. And we already have a nice effect. But you can explore. If you want a clear environment, you can use the adaptive layer with hard light or with overlay. And of course, use a lighter color, so like overlay or hard light, to make a lighter environment, or overlay or dodge too. But since we want a dark environment, use multiply in the place that directs that gives the idea of the environment that you want. Use dodge for base light, shine for highlights, or you can use normal too. I recommend using shine. Let's see dodge. Dodge almost disappears. Use shine, and you can explore other possibilities using like hard light. For an example, looks very interesting. I really enjoyed this visual, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it like this. And we have a very interesting drawing made out of cell shading. I hope you guys liked it. I don't know how much time that we took. I'm going to probably accelerate some process, but let's just see. I'm going to show you guys during the recording. Of brute recording, we have 41 minutes of recording. Let's just say that I probably took the line art to do the line art of this drawing. I took like maybe almost the same time, like 40 minutes to 1 hour. Let's just make it 1 hour. Let's just say that I did the line art taking 1 hour out of my time. The overall coloring, while I was trying to teach and explain some stuff to you guys, took 42 minutes. This is very fast for a single illustration, because when I make soft shading drawings, usually I take from 3 hours to like 6, sometimes 12. It depends on the amount of elements on the picture. Here's a very simple picture because the environment is very basic. But just so you guys can have an idea, I consider this time right here, 42 minutes, something very fast. So I hope you guys enjoy it. You can share this video with your friends. See you guys next time in my next video. And also I want to remember again, this fan art that I did right here, it's for a Brazilian fan movie that, as far as I know, is being subtitled, which is Spider-Man Panopticon, or Homem-Aranha Panóptico in Portuguese, in Brazilian Portuguese. So I hope you guys can check it out too. I recommend it. So let me just finish something here. I'm going to, since this is like kind of metallic, oh, let me erase this here. Oh yes, this is what I want. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We have our fan art finished. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys on my next video.